Hi everyone, and welcome again to Adventures in Parenting, 30 Days to Becoming a Better Parent. As you see, I have a lovely sidekick today. My name is Julie Flaherty, and I'm going to let my guest introduce himself in just one second. But I want to welcome everybody to day 12. Wow, time is flying by, isn't it? I hope you're learning things. I'm learning things about you guys, since a lot of you guys are inboxing me or emailing me. We got to work on that comment box section, people. I know you want to use it, just do it. Anyway, I digress. We're in day 12. I told you I've got a couple interviews. Here's one of them. I've known this guy for about 30 years. Yeah, I know, it's a long time. He happens to be my husband. So we're going to talk today about a topic that's near and dear to both of us, and that is disabilities or special education or dealing with kids that have special issues. And your name, sir?
My name is Marty Flaherty.
Yes, this is Marty Flaherty. Some of you guys know him as Honey, because that's what I call him. He answers. It works. Anyway, so we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask him some questions, and he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. He's been bugging me all day. So he's a little nervous. He's not used to this video stuff because I think he truly believes the camera still steals his soul. It just borrows it. It's okay. So we're going to just not tell him it's going to steal a tiny part of him, and we're just going to talk some stuff. Anyway, so Marty, you have how many kids?
We have 5.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Good. That was a quiz. Good
I
job.
can count.
Yay. 4 are ours biologically. 4. One is not ours biologically, but he chose us. We don't know why he did that, but he did, and we've had him for about 2 years. So, and he's 18. I don't know.
They say we can't return him now.
No, we can't. His warranty's over. So, out of the 4 that are biologically our children, what issues or special disabilities do they have?
Oh, jeez, we got deaf, blind. We got dyslexic, we got ADHD, and we got a young one.
Yeah, she's 10, almost 11, and we don't have a cure for that. A girl that's 10 or 11, she's just that way.
I don't think we can fix that.
No, you can't. But I try. I try a lot. Right now she's showering, so bonus. Okay, I digress. So, with your children, have you seen any issues or problems with them that you wouldn't normally see in other kids?
Well, yeah, there's always something a little different about any kid, and not having experienced others aside from in passing, it's really hard to say definitively, but they are their own quirky little personalities.
Can you describe a quirk for the people out there that are watching?
Well, one of those I guess would be sometimes when the youngest boy is eating and he's kind of taken up this habit of kind of tapping his lips a couple of times after he takes a bite.
So it's a little OCD tick. And for those of you, I've talked about OCD a little bit. It's a tick, so it's a ritual. He'll tap, and he'll take his food, and he'll tap, 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 and then he eats it. Some kids, they sniff it first. Our oldest daughter will sniff everything and then take a bite. It's kind of weird, but you got to get past it. They close their mouth when they chew, so what more do you want, right? What more do you want? Jerry, the 12-year-old, he's deaf, blind, or blind deaf, whichever one you want to put first. Has that been a challenge for him educationally?
I think it has been a little bit of a challenge, but it's nothing that we've ever handled differently than any of the others. And I think in doing that, it's helped him learn to adjust on his own. So we aren't having to compensate. We aren't having to compensate to help him. We're helping him to figure out how to do things on his own.
Okay, so in school, there are things called IEPs or WEPs. And I'm going to explain those really quickly for you guys out there. I know he knows, but I'm going to explain them for you guys who may or may not know what those are. An IEP is what it's called, and it's an individualized education plan. And what that means is you get all the educators and administration together, and everybody in the school system helps create a team to create a plan to better the child who may have a disability and need some extra help. A WEP is a written education plan. It's not as detailed, it's not as formal, it's more open-ended and more easily changed. So in IEP, you have meetings at a minimum once a year to update those, and WEPs are more fluid. It's more of a living transaction that can be manipulated and changed. Now, having said that, most kids on IEPs or WEPs have a disability of some sort, whether that's ADD or deafblind or things of that nature. Has Jerry ever had an IEP or a WEP?
They had talked about it at a couple different points. We've really tried to avoid doing that just because, again, we don't want to accommodate just to get him by. I mean, when he gets out into the real world, he's not going to be able to say, oh, well, I can't do this without this. Sorry, you're in the working world. You're going to do, with what you got.
Now, having said that, Marty's been in charge of many people and supervisors of many people over the years. Several of those people have been blind or sight disability in one way, shape, or form. Did you have to make accommodations for those people?
Well, we did have to make accommodations for them. I mean, reasonable accommodations according to ADA and all the applicable laws for the different countries that they worked in. But it's not like we have to give them extra time to complete something, or we have to make it so that they are able to do their job. But that is it.
Okay. Now, if I recall correctly, a couple of the software systems and a couple of the magnifying systems were really cool. And if my eyes were a little worse, I probably would have found a way to figure it out on how to get that. There was also, if I recall, a transcribing software. So for someone who has hearing issues, and it's funny because we all joke about calling in to a customer service person who doesn't hear you very well. And there have been those out there that couldn't hear very well. I know, for a fact. But they had transcribing software. So when you spoke, everything was on the page, verbatim, how you said it. So those people didn't miss anything. That I do know for a fact. And the software was really, really cool. Now, I know we did look into software for that for Jerry at one point.
We did.
And we decided against it because we knew he would use it as a crutch. And we have debated throughout the years on, do we put items in place, a safety net per se, in case he would need it later on. And we decided as a family it wouldn't work for us to do that for Jerry because, as I spoke before, those children that are gifted are manipulators.
Yeah.
They will manipulate, and they're loophole finders, and he would have found a way to get every one of his teachers to allow him to use it. So we decided that would be a bad idea no matter how cool the software was. Now, we left it as an open door, so later on in life, if he does need that software, we know how to game that software for him, where all he would have to do would be to take a computer into college classroom, and it would transcribe the whole lecture for him. It still could be a possibility for him as a need, but it's not a necessity for him to be able to learn. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope so. I know Marty's followed all the days so far, not because he's required to, so don't send me those emails, but maybe a little bit required to. But he does follow them, and I'm going to see before we end today if he has any questions for me. So I'm going to be in the hot seat for a second since I had to twist his arm a little bit to get him on here. Do you have any questions for me from day one to now?
Well, I guess, I guess you've covered how it is you came to gain your interest in this and just the need that you had to do this kind of training. But what other steps have you taken along the way? I mean, I know just from having lived with you, obviously, but
He's lived through them all.
yes, I have lived to tell the tale.
What other steps as far as professionally or personally or both?
Well, a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, the patience that it takes, and how do you develop that patience, and and really, maybe some tips on how it is you're able to read people and read those signs.
All right, I'm going to do this quick for you guys because this is a longer one and I want to make sure I get this question answered, okay? So hang tight, here it goes. Let's see, I said I've done this for about 20 years out of necessity. I had to. I happened into a program that allowed me to flourish in a way that I never realized I was doing. A methodology was in place that I tweaked and perfected, and that's called cognitive skills therapy. When our when our oldest son was first born, he had a lot of issues neurologically and physically, and I sort of overtrained him and tripped into this in a backdoor kind of way. Go get the blue ball, no, not the red ball, the blue ball, no, not the green ball, right? Okay, totally overtrained him. Well, I carried that through to the next child and the next child and the next child. When we found our children struggling in school, like some of us did, struggled, right? It was the little mirror of me 4 times. So I had to find a way to make sure they didn't struggle. And since there were no answers, and after we got tired of beating our heads against the wall, and he got tired of me fussing about beating my head against the wall, I figured out a way to do this. I worked with another company for a short amount of time. I traveled across the nation more than he wanted me to, and more than the kids wanted me to. 480 students worth, centers across the nation, professionals across the nation, schools all over the place I've been to, CEOs I've worked with. It's been kind of crazy, but it's totally out of necessity, as I said. But I'm passionate about it, and I have fun with it. How do I read people is the second part of that question, correct?
Yes.
How do I read people? I'm notorious for asking somebody how is their day, and they tell me their life story. Marty hates going to the grocery store with me, and all of a sudden I'll ask somebody, how's your day? That's an open-ended question, apparently, because most people will answer fine. People don't answer me fine. People answer me how their day was and what's going on and how do you do this and what about that, and yeah. So how do I read people? It's something I've learned how to do, much like any other gifted kid. I just know, right? And what did I say? You have to build the math question backwards, right? Okay, so I'm going to do that as quickly as I can in about a minute and a half. We'll see if it works. Maybe a part 2 to this. Okay, so I'm going to build it backwards. I say, hey, how are you? How's your day doing? Do you see that face? And apparently, it's an open invitation to tell me how your day is. So people tell me. And then they tell me they have kids. Oh, really? How many? Oh, that's great. I have kids too. Yeah. Well, what do you do with your kids? Well, here's what I do with my kids. How old are your kids? Well, I have those kids. Yeah. Do you see how I'm building a relationship with people? Yeah. And I care? Yeah. You know that passion part? Yeah. Okay. So then we're going to go into, because I care and I'm passionate about what I do, I ask questions, but I do it because I care and because I'm passionate. And people tell me things. And I talk to them, and then I exchange an email or a phone number, and next thing you know, I've fixed their kid. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I think it's over a minute, though. So if you guys want to know how I do what I do, or if you have specific questions, comment box. I read the comment box all the time.
Does.
You know the words. It's right there, right? And if you're watching on Facebook, guess what? It's right there. And if you need to email me, it's julie.flaherty@gmail.com. right? Everybody knows the song by now. He hears it in